I'm Kelly Hogan, and this is my Zero Carb Life. And today I am joined by Anita Breeze, who you may know as the ketogenic woman, and Dr. Kelli Ritter. The reason I have brought the three of us together today is we were just in person in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, the last, what was that, about 10 days ago or so. And we hung out, and Anita and I both listened to Dr. Ritter give this great presentation about how it's more than just the food. And it really struck a note with me. And then I was listening to Anita on her YouTube channel on Tuesday. She gives these Tuesday talks that I live for. I love them. And I was listening to her talk, and she was referring to Dr. Ritter's presentation and how much she valued it. And I thought, we should just have a conversation here. Before we get into the more than food aspect, I first want to point out I have some flickering lights here. This is not my house. There was a really bad storm at my house. I have no power, so I'm at my friend's home today. Let's talk for a minute about how there are things other than food, but food first. And I want to start with your story, Anita, because you and I, we're both total carnivores. I know Dr. Ritter has done carnivore for like 2.5 years of her life as well. We all know that food is really important. But could you give us kind of the 5-minute rundown of what brings you to carnivore, Anita?
Okay, yeah, happy to do that. So I've been on this weight loss journey for 12 years, I think now. And I started, like a lot of people do, I knew about low carb and started, with an Atkins type of a program. And that worked until it didn't. Now, I had a lot of weight to lose, and I'm still 30 pounds away from my goal weight. But that did in fact work for quite some time. And, then I had all those famous long stalls that can happen. And I started to clean up. I went, by then I had heard about keto and cleaned up things in my program. Somewhere along the way, Kelly, you were the first person that came across my my feed as being a carnivore, and that was just before YouTube and Facebook groups. It was on some kind of a bulletin board, and I thought, oh, okay, that that is something else again. But I did dabble in it a bit, and but it wasn't until 3 years ago that I decided to go full on in carnivore. And by then I had lost probably about 110 or 120 pounds or so. So I have continually lost more on carnivore, but that is where I got rid of more like the inflammation. When I was doing low carb and keto, it was strictly about the food, the macros, and the weight loss. But it was in the last 3 years that I started learning it's more than that. It's more than about what I'm putting in my mouth. There's other things. And that's why I really enjoyed your presentation, Dr. Ritter. It was, I loved it. I loved it.
Oh, good.
I think I saw yesterday you've lost, is it 145 pounds total?
Yeah, that's my range right now. And like I said, I'm working on trying to get to that last bit to goal weight, which isn't that easy, but I'm feeling a total difference in my life. Especially the last year, I joined Kelly, your coaching group. As you know, I've been there for a while. I apparently learned things slowly, because a lot of things that Dr. Ritter mentioned and that other people mentioned at the retreat, I know you talk about. And sometimes it takes me 6 months of listening to a message before I go, yeah, I wonder if there's something to that.
Well, I think that's so common. I mean, me too. I've heard people talk about some of the things we're going to say today. I have heard people discuss through the years, and you got to sit with it a while. And then somebody will come along today. There will be people watching this today, Dr. Ritter, who have probably heard some of these things before, but hearing you say it today, that'll be what clicks. So let's get into it. Now that we've established, that's what I mostly wanted to establish with Anita and Dr. Ritter first, is if people are eating a standard American seed oil laden, sugary, junky diet, They could do all of the things that Dr. Ritter is about to share on repeat. And in my opinion, I would have never healed if I had stayed on those foods. Like, and I know you agree with it. So Dr. Ritter, take it away, sister.
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me to this party. I'm so excited. Anita, I mean, it's amazing. And Kelly, I love you. So this is fun for me to be here. And I was doing all the things too. And it's amazing what food will do. It's so important. Like you and I were talking before Anita got on, Kelly, I think it's crucial. And not enough people really understand the addictive nature of food and food addiction. And it's a real thing and it's really important. So dialing in on that. But when I started learning about mitochondrial health and like healing on a cellular level, I was like, wait, what? I didn't go to medical school. I have a PhD, people, in counseling. My specialty is anxiety, mood, depression, right? And so I was really interested from that mental health perspective of kind of understanding how the food plays into our food and mood are so much more connected than people realized. So that piece. But then there was this other layer of like, wow, we could heal on a cellular level. You are healing when you take the junk out and when you give your body nutrient dense food consistently. That's a safety signal to our on a cellular level. So that's really important. But then we can turn down some of the danger signaling that from lifestyle stuff. Like people are deficient in sunlight. Sunlight is a nutrient, right? It's as important as the food. And so many people just we're afraid of the sun now. We cover up, we have sunglasses, we're right. So I want people to understand that light is a nutrient and that it's important to get your light right, you'll get your vibe right, you'll help your mitochondrial health. The inflammation, like you said, Anita, just keeps going down and down. So things like what we were talking about at the retreat, earthing, some of us biohack and use like red light therapy and that sort of thing. I'm great with that. But there's also, it's free. Red light is free outside every day, all year round from dawn to dusk. So popping outside. I love, Kelly, you talk about sky breaks. I'm like, yes, like pop outside for a sky break. But really early morning light is where I focus a lot of my attention and help people start getting out in morning light. And evening around sunset is great too, but really you set the tone for the whole day by getting morning light, and it's your symphony of your body is getting kind of tuned to what you need to be doing, the hormones you need to be making, what needs to be packed up, what needs to be released, neurotransmitters, all of that base is really being orchestrated by the light environment that you're in. So that's why I talk about light a lot.
Yes, I love it. I had a good friend of mine, Sarah Kleiner, came on and talked about light.
I would love Sarah. We went hiking while I was in Atlanta recently.
She's
finally
on the bucket list of people to meet in person. I would love to do that.
Oh yeah.
He says to make sure you're looking at the morning sun with naked eyeballs, though.
Naked eyes to the skies.
And without glass in our houses or cars, if you're going to be inside, and it's important to open the windows. Or at least roll them. Yes.
Crack a window, pop outside. Yeah, because the modern windows that we have now are blocking some of the frequencies of light that we want, right? Yeah. And so that's why we want to be out in it. And people are always like, yeah, but you can't stare into the sun. Right. But even if you're in the shade, if it's cloudy, if there are trees and buildings in the way, that's okay because you're still getting the light frequencies. It's really just about those frequencies of light that are outside.
Anita, have you experimented with any of this?
Oh, I'm just dying to jump in here because I was afraid of this for a while because of that. I'm glad you said we don't have to stare at the sun. My front porch faces east and there's trees and buildings on the other side. And for a while I was frustrated. I also live in the Pacific Northwest, which is rain, a lot of rain. I was frustrated for a while with this whole, well, how do I get morning sun where I live and, how I'm situated? But I go out and I just stand on the front porch, and even on a cloudy, rainy day, the sky, you can kind of see the sky is brighter. I mean, there may be some overcast. So now I just do it every morning. I am up before the sun comes up just because of my work hours. But I have it written on in my journal what time the sun's coming up, and I make sure I get out there and I stand out there for a few minutes and just take that sky break that Kelly mentions. My sleep scores, like I measured them, and they are up substantially. I
Oh,
used to get in the 70s, and now I'm getting in the 80s and low 90s. One of these days I'll get 100. I don't know what I have to do for that, but I just really feel that difference. And like you said, it sets the tone for the rest of the day just by making that effort to get out there and look at the sky.
I love multitasking, like if you can layer things. So when I
Oh,
do step outside in the mornings, we'll talk some today about breath work, but while the sun is coming into your eyes, or at least the natural light, you can also, that's a great time to habit stack, take some deep breaths, a good time to practice gratitude.
Yeah.
Think of at least a few things you're thankful for. You could also be touching the earth, Dr.
earth.
Ritter.
Yes. So I'm a big stacker too. I love layering.
Yeah.
Layer on the healing. Yes, earthing. I love to, well, and prayer, gratitude, while you're out there doing deep breathing, all of those things are going to be helpful to us, right? Those are all safety signals on a cellular level, more and more safety signals, less and less inflammation. But putting our skin, bare skin on Earth's surface, and it can be grass, dirt, sand, rocks. It could even be concrete, but it can't be painted. So asphalt won't work, or like rubbery stuff. Obviously, it needs to be conductive. But when we put our bare skin on Earth's surface, we are naturally grounded. That grounds us. And if any part of us, our entire body is conductive. So if our pinky is grounded, our whole body's grounded,
Mm.
which is so cool that you don't have to be barefoot in the freezing cold or anything like that. And I've been testing, I bought a grounding little meter so I could see if my grounding shoes are actually working and all of that. And I can see, so when I'm touching a tree, I'm grounded. So if I touch the leaves on a tree, I'm grounded. If I just touch a bush, as long as it's planted, right? Not in a pot. So you're just stacking, you're layering, and all of these things are supporting us on a cellular level, which is just exciting, right?
Yes, absolutely. Do either of you know Linda Salant? That's Linda the Carnitarian.
No.
Oh,
No.
y'all would love her. She's been carnivore, several years, maybe 8 years, several years. But she heard about this, Dr. Ritter, and she would go outside on her porch, maybe her back deck, and there's a tree limb that's growing,
Uh-huh.
and she like pets the tree leaves. She's
Yeah.
like, there it is, I'm grounding. So hug a tree, folks. There's literally benefit to go out, touch the earth. And I know the first time I heard about this, like, what is that even supposed to do? But it
Right.
makes sense to me that touching the earth, when you do hear about the electrons, you can get really scientific about it.
You
But
can.
yeah, or you can just realize we were born on this earth. God made this earth. It makes sense to me that touching it and not just standing on fake surfaces all day could actually be helpful. Anita, have you experimented any with earthing or grounding in?
Well, it was actually in your session, Dr. Ritter, that I, all of a sudden realized, oh, okay, this is a thing too. I had heard about it, thought it was a little woo-woo, but you gave
Yeah.
some really concrete concrete examples of, what sorts of things we can do. And even now, this idea about the tree, I'm super excited because, my things that are going around in my head. Okay, I got to step out onto the grass. The dog's probably peed there. What am I going to do? Like things like that, right? I'm like,
Mhm.
but I can go out and there's definitely trees in my backyard that I can hold on to and touch. And thank you for that idea. I think that's going to be great. So this
Yeah.
is something I want to add to my daily. I'm going to add it to my habit tracker to do some kind of grounding. Thank you.
Feel very happy when I go out. I take walks. I live in the country and I walk with a pair of scissors in my pocket, not for protection. That's what the pepper spray is for. But scissors are so I just cut wildflowers. You're
Yeah.
and I always feel so happy afterwards, but that would literally be grounding. You're touching nature, you're bringing it with
Yeah.
you. It's in the house. I love that.
I love the layering of that, Kelly. because that's just, it's pleasing on so many levels. And we are nature
Yeah.
and we are part of, like, it's not like we are separate from nature. So yeah.
Morning light, a walk, which I'm a big fan of the walks. You're touching nature, you're bringing something lovely into the house. It does make me feel grateful. Sometimes I even do some breath work. You want to go there next?
Yeah, sure. Well, so
So,
breath is life, right?
yeah.
So without breath, we have no life. And 95% of the oxygen that we bring in is for our mitochondria use that. So breath work can be really powerful in healing our mitochondria. And I've been looking into the science about this a little bit. I was telling Kelly, I have to piece it together because it's not quite in an orderly fashion this way, but it can be really helpful. We know that breath work, breathing exercises help with mitochondrial disease. So it makes sense that even if we don't have mitochondrial disease, that we could be helping our mitochondria out by doing deep breathing, nose breathing. So if you're a mouth breather,
And I am.
especially at night, right? Tape up, they make the tape. So Kelly, you can talk about the tape tube. Anita, I don't know if you have this, but I taped my mouth too when I first was learning about this. And I think I'm not a mouth breather because I always, every time I wake up, I don't have my mouth open. But it's really beneficial to be paying attention to the breath, expanding our breath, doing different exercises to really help our body out with deeper breathing.
Yeah, I tell people if we are breathing like an unsafe person, when somebody's in danger or stressed, they breathe very rapid and shallow, and that is
Yeah.
how people just tend to breathe these days. In fact, I've been told that humans now breathe about twice as many times in an hour as people did 100 years ago. Have you heard something like that, a statistic like that?
I haven't seen the statistics, but that makes perfect sense, right? Look at our world. Like, and it's not that the world is changing that much, as we are just exposed to it. We are 24/7. You can find out all the bad things that are happening in the world. So of
Right.
course we're holding our breath. We're not breathing deeply. And people haven't, we're disconnected from the breath. Not good.
Anita, do you ever incorporate any box breathing? Or I know in our group together, we've done some
Yes.
alternate nostril breathing together. I don't know. Do you find any of that
Yeah,
helpful?
well, in fact, I learned about the breathing from your group. And so I have, tried the box breathing. I also liked the one that they mentioned at the retreat where you take in two quick breaths and then one you let out. Yeah, something like that, like two quick and one long out. And then you touched on the safety, and I heard that in your group for the first time too, Kelly, about telling yourself that I'm safe.
Yes.
Now, and for this very reason, because I've, this is a whole other video, but I had some childhood trauma, and so that is an important thing to me because I think we need to sometimes remind ourselves that in this moment we are safe. Like take those deep breaths.
Yeah.
I'm safe. I just find that so beneficial. So I actually wanted to thank you for, you do always bring that up at some point in your coaching, and I think it probably could help a lot of people.
Dr. Ritter, that sounds more in line even with your background than some of the other topics. Could you expand upon that a little?
Yeah, so it's all about nourishing the nervous system, right? It's exactly what you're saying, Anita. Safety signaling. And I haven't met anybody that doesn't have some kind of trauma in their background. Some of us have more trauma than others. And so it's just, there's a deep connection there between our breath and safety and our nervous system. And our immune system and our nervous system are inextricably connected. So if you've got nervous system issues, we tend to have digestive issues. We have immune system flare-ups with like skin stuff and all kinds of problems with our immune system. So the breath work and just being connected to the breathing, very helpful for trauma recovery, stress, anxiety, depression, everything you can imagine. It's helpful.
Okay, so far we've talked about breathing like a safe person. I've even been told that while you're doing breath work, and this feels a little nuts and neurotic in the moment, but to smile like a safe person, to use these muscles to literally that it sends a signal. You'd know more of the science behind any of this stuff than I do. I'm just sort of parroting what I've been told and what makes me feel happy. Again, I don't know why picking wildflowers makes me happy, but you sort of do. That's cool. But using these muscles to smile like a safe person, breathe like a safe person.
So, I mean, against the nervous system, it's a signaling. But what I've learned on a quantum level, and not to get too woo-woo there, because it's super simple, actually, but it's this communication. It's like a super highway through in our entire body. And quantum is very fast. So it's not like chemical reactions that take a little that's happening and mechanical stuff. This is actually really quick communication. And so all of these signals are sending safety signals throughout your whole body instantly. So it's not like we have to wait for some kind of chemical, which will happen eventually. And you're going to get more coherence when we have safety signaling, smiling, cutting flowers, being in nature, absorbing electrons from the Earth's surface. Like all of these things are helping with that signaling.
Free and it's easy, and you'll know it when you do it, but if it's working, because you do feel happier. And like you said, it doesn't take a month of Sundays to find out if that makes you feel better.
No, it's really quick, which is really nice. And you're right, it's free. But when people argue with me on YouTube or wherever about the science, I'm like, dude, just go outside. Like the science is emerging. We're learning. There's still a whole lot to learn. But if it makes you feel better, do we care that the science hasn't caught up? But
yeah, why argue that? Anita, are you a mouth taper?
I'm not. I knew about it from you, but my roommate at the retreat, she was a mouth taper. So I thought, okay, there's many people out there that do that.
No, I do. I am quite a mouth breather. I don't even have tonsils and I don't have a weight problem, but I still snore like a freight train if I don't tape my mouth. Now, it turns out that if I miss a few nights now, I don't go immediately back to the snoring, because I've been training for 2.5 years on how to sleep with my mouth shut, but I still most every night still tape. Nasal breathing helps to keep our nitric oxide levels higher, which we want good nitric oxide levels, and it helps a lot of people to not wake up to urine. I used to wake up to pee every single night.
exactly.
I don't anymore. So talk to me a little bit more about anything you want to say or add about mouth taping, Dr. Ritter.
Yeah, I think that's all of it, except that I do want to say when we breathe through our nose, we also go deeper into our lungs. So we're actually oxygenating our body on a deeper level. So that's the other piece of that, which is really important for your mitochondria.
Including our leg muscles, and people who have leg cramps, that used to be me, can get a lot of relief from mouth taping, because you're not really getting the oxygen to the cells, the muscles, as much as we need to if we're breathing through our mouths all night.
I've heard a little bit about, because we were talking about muscles and some of the muscle problems that we were talking about, it being mineral based, right? Making sure your minerals are right.
Yeah.
But I think mouth taping makes a lot more sense too. But it also is helpful for your relationships, because if you're snoring like a freight train, hi.
Yeah. My husband's sleep has also improved since I started mouth taping. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Anita, you and I have talked before about castor oil, but I don't actually know if you've ever experimented with castor oil. What's your background with it?
Well, I actually have, and so I got the castor oil pack and some organic castor oil. So I've done a few things. What I found was and this again was from your class, Kelly. Couple of tablespoons on the pack under my right rib cage, which I'm pretty sure that's where the liver is. I hope I got that right.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So what that did right away is the next morning I had a bowel movement, which is good. And I also had a deeper sleep that night. I scored high on the deep sleep level. It's not something I do every night. I only do it, maybe once a week or so, because there's so many things I'm trying now, but I did find that was successful for those two things. And I also did experiment putting it on my face for a while just to see, you know, what it did for my skin. But this week I'm using beef tallow oil from Serena because I wanted to
Oh,
try that out, and I and I haven't had a chance to do that, and loving that as well. So anytime we don't put chemicals on our skin, I think is probably a good way to go.
I agree. I'm going to link to her product before, Purely Tallow. I do use
Mhm.
that on my skin. I also do use castor oil on my face. I put it on my belly area. I find if people are constipated, especially really helpful and struggling with
Yeah.
sleep. But Dr. Ritter, I don't know why. I just have been told to try it. I did it for months. I found it very useful. So, what do you think about castor oil?
Yeah, I love castor oils, and it's really helpful for digestion, obviously for liver support.
Mm.
It's been used for centuries for all kinds of things. Um, yeah, and I'm also a big fan of the tallow right now on the face, but I actually have the castor oil roller. So I was traveling with that because I always have digestive issues when I'm going, like I was in Europe, and I just rolled that sucker all around my belly. I just love the way that it works for digestion. I've worked with people with Crohn's, colitis, every kind of IBS, because where you have mental health, you also tend to have digestive health problems, right? And so it's been beneficial for almost every person that I've worked with that uses it. So we
Yeah.
keep it.
Yeah,
Mm.
I've had a lot of people comment on how much it helps their sleep and their digestion.
I always tell people like pay attention to mood, digestion, and energy. Like if those three things are staying high, we keep it. If those things are getting wonky, we reevaluate.
Okay, ladies, I have an appointment at 11 o'clock, which means we've got just a little bit of time left. Dr. Ritter, we've talked food and grounding, castor oil, breath work, mouth taping. If there was anything else that you could talk to Anita and I about that you feel would be important for people to focus on other than just food, what would it be?
Yeah, honor the dark. So we started talking about your sleep. Anita keeps getting better and better.
Yeah.
The thing that I would miss, I was getting out for sunlight in the morning. I was taking my light breaks during the day. I was even out there in a bikini as much as possible, right? I was doing all the things, but I was still on my devices at night. I wasn't completely blocking the blue light at night. And once I started doing that, I just got myself some blue blockers and started, and now I'm really very particular about making sure I'm honoring the dark. I have red light bulbs and I do all the things. And I'm not perfect because I still sometimes need to work a little bit late, but even when you're up before the sun and you're doing things after the sun goes down, you want to just get away from the blue light as much as possible because that blue light is telling your body that it is daytime, and that sharp blue light that's on all of our devices, our TVs, our computers, our phones, that light is telling your body it's noon in Florida in the summer. And if it is not noon in Florida in the summer, then that is signaling to your body because you're giving your body the wrong signals. And it can make us actually physically ill. Increases inflammation, which we know then increases the likelihood of disease. But also just get off the devices.
Right. Well, there's that. Yeah, that is always an option.
So I'm listening to Dr. Ritter here right now thinking, okay, so this is an area where I need to get that under control because, yes, I own two pairs of blue blocker glasses.
Somewhere.
So, yeah, well, one is on my bedside table. So where I do use that, if I do happen to get up in the middle of the night to use the washroom, I put them, they're right there. I grab them, I put them on so that I'm not affected by light and my body says, wake up, wake up, wake up if it's 3 in the morning. And that actually helps me go right back to sleep. But I think where I need some improvement is that those evening hours after the sun goes down, I've got to discipline myself to put them on for that if I do
Yeah.
have to work.
It's a process, and I'm all about being super self-compassionate, lots of self-kindness, because if we're beating up on ourselves, that never works. That's danger signaling. We don't want that. We want safety signaling, right? We're doing the best we can. And it's really fun because that's an easy thing to layer back on that I think you'll then see your sleep numbers going up into the hundreds.
I love both of you so much. I love that we've got sort of the science and the why, and then also real life. Anita and I just, navigating life, trying to figure out how to incorporate some of these things. I hope that's really helpful to some people. Get the junk out of the diet, and then safety signaling. That's the phrase that's going to go with me today, Dr. Safety signaling. That's beautiful. What a healthy thing, a free thing. And now we know a little of the science behind it. So thank you both for talking to me today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Love you guys too. All right, bye everybody. Thanks.
Thanks, Dr. Ritter too.